On this episode of the Welcome Back podcast, I spoke with Matt Doran, an artist and one of the founders of the Art and Healing Foundation, which is an organization that helps those of us dealing with trauma, PTSD, and maybe addiction deal with that with art. We had a great conversation. I know Matt through my brother Brian, which naturally led to us talking about both of our struggles with addiction, also our journeys with Christ and with God and faith. This conversation came at the perfect time. It came right when I need it. And from my experience, that's exactly how God works in your life. Enjoy the discussion.
Matt Doran. Let's see. Career. I work in construction industry. Father, two little girls, little boy, Audrey, Ruth, and William. Let's see. I've got 6 years of recovery from drugs and alcohol. I'm also an individual who's working on putting a project together that is hopefully going to reach a lot of people and help a lot of people through the kind of medium of art and healing. It's kind of a passion project I've been working on. Um, yeah, it's kind of in a nutshell a little bit about me overall.
So we know each other very loosely through my brother Brian, right? And if I remember correctly, you were at his wedding.
I was.
Okay.
I had my daughter there, Audrey. She was going nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So that's how we got connected. Probably through Brian. Brian said, "Yo, check this thing out," and you were like, "Yo, let me in, let me in." So that's cool, man. That we have that connection. And did you know Brian? Like, how long have you known my brother?
When he first came into Jersey, I met him. However long that ago was, maybe 5 years ago. I think so. Yeah, he was on. Yeah, yeah. He actually came to I think my backyard meeting we were having at one point. That's
Okay.
I think that's the first time I met him
Yeah.
during
So I,
COVID.
yeah, I think he was living in I don't know if it's the right terminology, but I guess like a sober living home, almost just like a bunch of guys. It's like a frat house with no fun,
Pretty much.
basically. Yeah.
That's a great description, honestly.
yeah, yeah, everybody still hates each other, fighting each other. Stop touching my eggs.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
Brian's just working out on the back porch trying to get diesel. But yeah, so I know he was living there and he was just kind of like rebuilding his life. What you said you've been sober 6 years?
Yeah, March 28th, 2019 was the last drink or drug that I took.
Awesome.
That,
What what led up to having to make that decision? Was it made for you? I know these are all your decisions leading up, probably through your whole process, but at the end, what was the catalyst for you to make a change?
yeah, I mean, it kind of built up over the years because I always I was struggling with it since I was 16, drinking. I actually had gone to my first meeting when I was 17 as a joke with a few buddies of mine. They got caught drinking at their high school cotillion dance or something. They were told they had to go to out of school suspension and a meeting. So I ended up going with them for fun. Little did I know, a year later I would actually be going for real for the first time. So I always kind of had issues with drinking. And it's funny because it's like I was kicked out at 17 and really kicked out at 18. I went down to Florida, did rehabs down in Florida. And I never really thought it was a problem. I just kind of figured like this is the stuff that goes along with doing what I want to do. That's kind of the whole story, doing what I want to do or what I think I want to do. And towards the end of it, I mean, I had family relationships were terrible, and that started weighing on me. I couldn't have an actual relationship with a woman, couldn't hold a job for a long period of time. Um, but I think what really catalyzed it was I was just a broken individual who wanted to be something other than what I was. And I had more fear of continuing on the path I was on than the fear of the unknown of going into like sobriety and like trying to become something actually and do something with my life. And I think that kind of positioned me when I was 25, where it's just like, I just started having these moments of clarity where I would like get like 3 months, 6 months, and I'd go back. And then like it started to just really weigh in on me.
Oh shit. You're not Italian, are you?
No, German and Irish mainly.
Your hands are Italian.
I know it's bad.
You're
They
just
start
speaking with
moving.
those things.
I know it's terrible.
But yeah, no, keep going, man. Keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had plenty of experiences in life where it's like I saw a version of myself that I really wanted to be, but I didn't know how to have the willpower or the strength to start to align with that who that person I could see in my head, but I couldn't figure out how to actually live in reality. And it wasn't until I think I just had a moment of surrender in my life where I realized that like what I was in control of was destroying my life, and I figured if I could just let go of the reins, that maybe I had an opportunity to becoming this version of this person I could see myself as. And like I don't think I'm there at all, but I'm definitely a lot farther away from what I was, and that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah. No, I think I think 1% better every day,
Yeah,
you know. Just trying to be better today than who you were yesterday, if who you were yesterday does not live up to the expectations that you have for yourself, for the people that you love, the expectations they have of you as well, right? It first starts with you and yourself. You have to be able to love yourself and you know, be able to look in the mirror and say, yeah, this is, I'm comfortable being who I am, and I'm happy with who I am. And clearly when you looked at yourself, you didn't feel that way, right? You were going on a
we just
decade
gotta
or
hide the mirrors.
yeah, yeah, hide the mirrors. No, you started drinking, you said when you were about 15 years old. Is that when
Yeah,
it all started? Yeah.
yeah,
And was that your kind of your vice, was drinking?
yeah. I mean, I had a lot of different vices, but it always came back to the drink. You know, and alcoholism kind of ran in my family. I mean, my dad's in recovery, my sister's in recovery, my brother's in recovery, I'm in recovery. My grandfather should probably be in recovery, but it kind of
He's
is like
like, fuck you. I was in World War II. I was in the Great War. I don't need recovery.
he just. It's not even that, but yeah, it's something along those lines.
Yeah,
That old style mentality. And yeah, I mean, it takes what it takes. You know, there's some
yeah,
guys that live their whole lives and never get it, and there's some people that get it when they're 18. My mentor got it when he was 18.
yeah,
I wish I got that at 18. I wish I had enough foresight to see that like this isn't going to work out well. You know, I mean, it's interesting how it kind of all unfolds. It's like you start getting sober, and then you start having ideas about your life and what you should do, and like things I never thought about. Like, what am I going to do for a career?
yeah,
Should I go back to college? Should I like what should I do? You know, and like it's kind of funny that like once I started getting sober, I started like thinking about going back to college and like there's this point in time where it's like you're kind of like you're trying to live a spiritual life, like you're trying to live this idea that there's at this point I'm not like religious, I'm not really atheist, but I'm like kind of seeking God on some level in this sense, and I'm praying and all that stuff. And I was raised religious. My father was a pastor, my mother was like a woman's minister. Like they had a church. um wasn't until I think I was like 10 or 12 my dad ended up leaving the church, just kind of going into a full career that wasn't involved with the church at all. So I always had like ideas of religious things. And I remember I started like kind of asking those deeper questions. And I was going to Rowan College, like taking economics classes and like things like that. And I was like, this is terrible. I was like, this is accounting. I was like, this is terrible. Who would want to do this with their life? I was like, I'd rather be drinking than doing this. And like, there was like, I've always had these moments in time where it's like you kind of just get hit with that light bulb. And I was up in the I guess the library at Rowan College on the computer, and just like a thought, just it's like you should be an architect. I was like, okay, mind you, I'm not an architect, but it was an idea that inspired me, and that inspiration is what I live by mostly today. Like I yearn for that moment of inspiration to like push me into the next direction, and like that's what it took because I don't think I would have gotten a degree if it wasn't for like that inspiration of like doing something new. And like I hit me, all this energy followed through with it, and like I remember because it always takes that like to be motivated. You got to be inspired to be motivated. If that makes sense. Like once I was inspired, motivation followed. And I remember I was like, I found the college I could do it at. I found the funding I needed because I didn't have any money or a job, but I got the funding I needed. I found the college, which is NJIT up in Newark, and I was like, well, they wanted a portfolio, and like this is kind of how the art and healing thing comes around a little bit. Is that I was like, well, what's a portfolio? I don't know what that. I really had no idea what that meant. So I started YouTube and like architectural portfolios, And like it's all these like kids that have like these drawings of like buildings, and I'm like, I've never done that in my life. Like all I've ever done is like paint and like draw and do things like that, which I started back in 2016 or 15. I started doing these drawings because I went to an art therapy session at one of these facilities, and like I was inspired. And once I get inspired, I just run with it. And I remember I was drawing stuff every day. I had 50, 60 different drawings that I would take with me everywhere I went. And at this time, I'm 6, 7 months sober. And I'm like, well, what's a portfolio? And I reread the thing on the website, said anything like creative or any kind of work. So like this whole time, I'm trying to get my life in order from 2016 to 2019. I'm like doing all these drawings, making all these paintings, and doing all this stuff that was like kind of building up to this moment in time where it's like now I'm sober, and I'm like, well, my dad used to ask me like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You're just sitting there drawing. Like, what are you doing?" He's like, "Go do something." And I was like, "I am doing something."
Yeah.
And like little did either of us know that like at some point those drawings would be used to help me get into college so I could go study and get a degree. And like I remember like the day that like I got accepted with the portfolio I sent him, my dad like almost started no, didn't cry, but he got like started. He does this like laughter thing when he gets like emotional. It's not crying, but it's like this like laughter of like I can't believe like all this time I was like kind of giving you shit for just sitting around and draw. I would draw for 6 hours at a time. I would just sit there and just draw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, little do we know that like those things would catalyze into like going to get my degree. You know, and like
Yeah. So it wasn't until you start getting sober where you start even being able to conceptualize a future for you,
yeah.
right? You're not thinking so too far into the future while you're drinking and
No,
drugging.
I didn't think I was going to live past 25.
Now, what made you think that?
How I was living my life. And like I just didn't see a life past 25, 26. I just figured this is how it was going to end. And like I was fine with that for the most part. You know, because when you're in the midst of like just reckless drinking and like your family's already kind of like, you know, you're already kind of isolated enough where it's like you just kind of get into that mindset. And I think a lot of people who've done what I've done and been where I've been can relate to that idea of like it's just like, yeah, we're probably not going to make it past this age.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
at 25, you're thinking you know, if this year's a good year to die, if it
21, 22, I was thinking like that.
you're giving yourself a few years.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm
yeah.
still having fun, but I don't know how much longer this this
He's
is gonna
gonna
last.
laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Um. So you're doing a lot of boozing. You're not doing a lot of thinking about what your future holds. You start getting sober. Now you said earlier that you get sober for a little bit and then you kind of fall back, and then get sober for a little bit and fall back. Thinking back to those times where you kind of relapse in those early stages, right? Couple months, maybe a couple weeks, and then fall back. You know, what is going on in in your mind in those moments that you put in 5 months, 6 months, and then you just make the decision that yeah, I'm gonna start over, or not even that I'm gonna start over, I'm just gonna kind of like throw away the 5 months, 6 months of sobriety and just have some fun.
Yeah, you know that's a great question. I still don't think I know the answer to that. Why you give up the time you have?
Hmm.
And I really think it comes down to, and I think this is like kind of what sets the tone for like living a sober life and just being abstinent for a little while. It's like all those times I did that, I never got involved with anything, any lifestyle changes. I would just be abstinent. So it wasn't
Hmm.
like I was really doing anything to prevent me from having another drink. And I think what happened March 28, 2019 was like I decided to make a lifestyle change. I started to get involved with these programs and with working and doing, the 12-step stuff and getting involved and doing that and helping other people and like consistently reaching my hand out and helping other people as much as I possibly can still to this day. And I think that's the only reason why I've been able to stay sober as long as I have, which is 6 years is a long time. I was like thinking about it the other day. I was like, it feels like yesterday I walked in.
No, that's a long time. I commend you. I actually recently just relapsed. Few, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago or so. And my issue is just smoking weed. I smoked weed
Mhm.
since I was 15 years old.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Drinking is something that I can do, and I don't care about it. Like I could drink, I could not drink. It doesn't matter to me. I don't really like drinking anymore. I'm 41 years old. It has a huge toll on my ability to recover.
yeah,
But smoking never did that, right? Smoking has its other issues, which really kind of just combine, amplifies my ability to procrastinate
yeah.
super effectively. So I did about a year sober, right?
Jeez,
So
you
when I
went a
say
year
sober,
without smoking
yeah,
and then smoked,
yeah, and I've been smoking for like the last 3 weeks.
and you weren't paranoid the first, and you weren't paranoid the first time.
I had to go lay down, bro. I
Yeah,
had
I
to
was.
go lay down. Yeah, yeah. And I should like kind of explain what led to it. So I'm smoking since I'm 15 years old, right? Off and on, actually, mostly on. There was only a few times where I actually, is this recording? I know you could hear me.
I see it says 5 minutes up top. Yeah, you're muted now.
How about that? Oh, okay.
It says it's been recording for 5 minutes.
All right. Perfect. Okay. No, something popped up and I'm like, oh no, has my audio not been recording?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So anyway, so last year, or I'm smoking since I'm a young kid. A couple times I stopped for a substantial amount of time, more prolonged amount of time, 10 months, a year, whatever, 6 months. Nothing super crazy, but also didn't really have a reason or a want to not smoke at that point. And then I lose my job a couple years back after 13 and a half years in the industry. And I'm still smoking like on a regular basis and doing very well in at my job. And then I lose the job and I start running my business. It becomes like pretty obvious to me that if I'm smoking, I'm not doing the things in my business that I really need to be doing, which is mainly sales and like networking and talking to people, right? I can edit videos, I can shoot
Yeah,
videos high as a kite, doesn't that has no effect, right? It might even have some benefits to it when it comes to the creative end of it. But the most important part to a business is creating business, having business coming in. I wasn't doing any of that. So, so I looked back at my year and I figured there was about 3 months because I had stopped smoking for about 6 months. Then I smoked once. That turned into a month of smoking. Then I stopped for like 5 or 6 months. Then I smoked again, like on a family vacation, and then that turned into 2 or 3 months of smoking. And when I looked at my year in business, I was like, for essentially 3 years, or not 3 years, 3 months out of the year, I wasn't really producing a lot of income. I had money coming in, but I wasn't creating more income. So I said, all right, I'm going to just stop smoking for a year and see. I didn't say for a year, I'm just going to stop smoking and see how that affects my ability to have like 12 good months instead of 9 good months, right? And this past year, there was about a 2 or 3 month low without smoking. And I kind of got it in my head that, oh, that wasn't the problem, as far
yeah,
as creating a consistent business.
yeah,
The problem was that there's always going to be this low period or this period where I kind of get in my own way, and it has nothing to do with smoking really. The smoking probably doesn't help, but I'm just going to get in my own way with self-doubt and,
yeah,
self limitations and things like that. And I think when I planted that seed in my head, I kind of gave myself the okay to eventually just smoke.
sure.
So, and that was, I mean, that was months and months and months ago. Then, I'm in the garage and there's just some like sitting in the garage forever. And I look at it, I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, nah, I don't need that. Go in the house, go through my whole day, no problem. And the next day I'm coming through the garage and I'm like, I go over there and I pick up a little roach and I'm like, oh, this has been sitting there a while. I'm like, I don't need that. And I put it back. The third day, that devil was knocking, bro. three
Yeah,
days in a row. And then the third day I said, fuck it. Now,
yeah,
that the fuck it attitude came because this year has been pretty slow for me business wise so far. So there's been a lot of self doubt, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of whatever. None of it is a good enough excuse to relapse or do the thing you feel like you shouldn't be doing or you shouldn't be doing. You can come up with a million excuses to
yeah,
fall back into some old ways, right? And there is no excuse. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like
Eventually,
where
there
I'm
could be
at
some
now.
good ones. I mean, you could. There's definitely some good excuses you could come up with.
Yeah, you can come up with them, but you could also just not do the thing.
Yeah, I haven't regretted. I haven't regretted any sobriety time at all. I've never regretted getting sober and never looking back.
Yeah. What's interesting, the whole last year when I've been sober, it's been like a man, I'm kind of reluctant to say it this way because then I'll be beholden to it, but it's kind of been like a little superpower because a lot of people around me do smoke. And that ability, do you remember when you first stopped drinking or doing drugs? At first it's very difficult, right? You kind of can't be around people. But once you get it in your head like, no, this is who I am now. I'm not a drinker anymore. I'm not a smoker anymore. It becomes the thing that would happen when you would be around your friends who are still doing that, living that lifestyle, you would feel almost left out because you're not doing it. There is a point early on where your mentality gets right and it feels the opposite. It feels like, oh, I'm the only one not drinking. Like, I kind of hate to say it, but you do feel better. Like, I'm just going to be straight up, like the way that I felt about it at times. I felt like I was better than the people around me who were
Yeah,
still,
that's actually normal.
yeah.
That's normal because it's like the ego's got to find a way to facilitate its validity of existence. So if it's not drinking and drugging, you're going to build it around. I'm just better than you now. That's how it,
And
that's how it validates itself. So
yeah,
it's like now, okay, because like my ego would just the way my ego would facilitate itself was like I'm a drinker and a drugger and a partier. I'm a good guy, have fun, you know. Then I stop. Well, what am I now? Well, I'm just better than you now.
yeah,
And like either both of them are bad.
yeah,
Both of them, you know, that
yeah. I
goes
don't feel
that
good
goes away.
saying
No,
it. Yeah, I
that
don't
goes
feel
away
good
for me.
saying it and admitting that. But
Yeah,
the way you,
that's massive self awareness. Some people don't ever have that self awareness.
yeah,
That's huge self awareness. Holy jeez.
yeah. But I mean, that's just honestly how I felt. Now there is a point where I get out of that phase and I'm just like, no, like now I don't have to even think about it. Like I'm not even considering it. Like, hey, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. It's like it has no bearing on my thought process. But man, they're freaking it says your recording has stopped. Oh no, it didn't. What the hell's going on here?
I don't know, man. Something doesn't want us to have this conversation. What's going on, dude?
Yeah, yeah. It says up here it stopped, but then it says it's still recording. All right,
Actually,
we're
mine says 12 minutes.
okay. All right, we're actually on 22 minutes somehow, but we'll figure it out in the end. We're gonna have the conversation, and if it's there when we're done, great. If it's not, we'll have another conversation.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fine.
but yeah. So man, I did the year sobriety, and now I'm kind of just falling back, and I don't have a lot of pressure in my day to day to be sober. Like meaning like there's no fear of me losing my job. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no whatever. If my son came to me and felt uncomfortable with seeing me smoking or smelling something in the garage or whatever, that would be 100%. Without a doubt, there would be no thought to it. It'd be over. I'd be done. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of base that off. I remember my mom. My mom's a smoker. She's been a smoker forever.
Hippie?
Yeah, and I remember when I was about my son's age now, probably like 10 or 11, I was catching on to like, some weed smoke happening in the house. And I remember I had said to her, or no, it wasn't even weed, it was cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
She was a big cigarette smoker, which she quit cold turkey. Just one day, just stopped after like 20, 30 years of smoking. Just one day, just stopped, never went back. Incredible. Like I don't even know how she did it. But I remember I said, Ma, it really bothers me that you're smoking. I want you to stop smoking. And she just kind of like shrugged me off. Like, why would I do that? I'm not going to stop smoking. That's crazy. So I have this little thing in my head now. I have that memory very clear, like trauma memory almost, that I've been carrying with me forever. So I always have this thought of like, if my son asked me, if he even started to ask me or bring it up or said, Dad, I'm not comfortable with it, it'd be done,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't want him to feel the way that I felt when I had asked my mom to stop smoking cigarettes and she basically told me to screw off.
Yeah,
She
I mean,
didn't say
why not
that, but
stop?
yeah. Why not just stop? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Yeah. So I mean, so I feel like this this is a this is a cry for help, Matthew.
No, I always just so much like, well, yes, why not stop? I mean, I always ask myself. I think it's like, why start now? I'm saying like, because you still have like thoughts. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
About smoking, or you see someone having a nice gin and tonic on a summer day, like you're just kicking back. You know, I could smell it, and I'm always just like, but why? I feel free right now. I could sing, I could dance, I could play music. I can. I don't. There's nothing stopping me from enjoying life right now. There's no. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's stressors with life, but like nothing that makes me feel like how I felt when I was drinking and I needed to smoke or I needed to like. How do you explain that? Like that ease and comfort, you know, that comes when you have a, you know, puffing a joint like that, you know, or whatever. Like I get that today. I don't know. I had to explain that. Like I just today, like I get that same relief just in it, just being alive and knowing I'm alive and knowing I'm present for life. And there's nothing I need to put into my. I don't need to change my. I don't need to alter myself anymore.
Mhm.
There's. I mean, and I'm not saying everyone that does something is trying to alter themselves because they're trying to escape reality on some levels. I mean, some people. I don't know. Some people, you know, can just smoke and just nothing about them changes. You know, every time I did, like I was one way and then I was smoking, I was another way. Like my whole personality changed. You know, my whole demeanor towards life changed. And like I think that's like the something I started to notice right before I got sober. Like I started to become more self aware about all these things about why I was doing what I was doing.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's just me though. Like not everyone's like that. Some people can live their whole life doing that kind of stuff, and like that's cool. You know, I used to love eating mushrooms a lot. Thought I was gonna find enlightenment eating just enough mushrooms or smoking enough
Yeah.
DMT or do something of that sort. And like I didn't realize like the greatest trip was just being alive and being sober, and then having
Yeah.
kids and like getting married and like finding my career. Like all this stuff I kind of thought of as like stupid. I was really mature. I mean, that person I was. You know, obviously we're different on this sense because you built yourself up, still doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it was a false reality that I was living in, right? When I was in the pharmaceutical industry, I was in for 13 years. I mean, I literally smoked every single day and I was working myself up the corporate ladder. Now I wasn't like running a site, but I was like middle management at best. But making decent money, like good benefits, good job for around here, like one of the better employers around here as far as like stability would go at that point, and pay and benefits and all that stuff. And but I was working within the confines of my routine, right? I knew exactly what was going to happen when I went to work. It never varied more than 2 degrees in either direction.
Yeah,
So it was just like once you learn the routine, it's like, oh, I could do this routine. I'm just a mouse on the wheel. I'm just spinning the wheel here. It doesn't matter if I'm high or whatever. Now I probably couldn't show up drunk and do that, but
yeah, that's a
just
little more
smoking,
noticeable.
yeah, a little more. Now you can smell it a little more, especially. Well, I guess you can smell the weed too, but I mean, there were times when I had, my routine kind of was, send the kid, or even before the kid was born, but get up in the morning, work out, smoke a blunt, work out, then
Jeez, you smoke
eat
a butt.
breakfast. Yeah, yeah. Then I would like eat breakfast, and I was working second shift, so I would get home late. I would stay up late playing video games or making music or whatever, and then I would be able to kind of sleep in and still have time to hit the gym or work out at the house, smoke. But then I would always get up, smoke, work out, come home, make breakfast, eat breakfast while I'm smoking, either like finishing the blunt or whatever.
Jeez,
And
man.
then I would give myself like, I don't know, an hour, two before work. And then, I'd go to work and I would do my thing. And I'm giving like presentations to fucking
Yeah.
site leadership and like just on a whim, I would show up, be like, hey, they want you to give that presentation to Big Bob today. I'm like, wait, right? Like right now today? Like, yeah. I'm like, okay, guess we're going in, baby. And I would just rhyme and I would crack jokes on people, and half of them
Yeah,
probably knew I was high, but I was good at my job and I
yeah,
was getting shit done. I was making them look good. So I don't know. I was in those confines of that reality, exit that reality or outside that reality, absent of the walls of that routine, it becomes a completely different animal. Because now, as a business owner, hey, I could decide that I want to smoke at 8 a.m. I'm also deciding in the same breath that I'm not going to accomplish anything today because I'm deciding to smoke at 8 a.m. or whatever, So it's like, don't want to do that. Don't want to be that guy. So yeah, it was like a false, I don't know, man. It was like a false sense of reality, I think. Um, but yeah, I always smoked and I just lived life like that. Now, to go back to something you said about, you always thought having the kid and just being sober and having the wife and having a family, those were like stupid things because you're out here just partying and living for today. And now it's quite the opposite for you, it sounds like, where those things are what bring you the most joy and satisfy you the
yeah.
most. And thinking about drinking, although it probably, you know, I don't know if it still has a major effect on you, but thinking about that, it just doesn't compare enough for you to
No,
jump back into that life.
no. You know what I do when I get home from work? I sit down. My little girls put on little ballet outfits, and then I play Mozart, and they dance like they're ballerinas. And I get like such a kick out of it. It's like the cutest thing.
I love it.
And then I have to get up, and then I have to do pirouettes and things like that. And
Yeah.
I try to pick up my guitar. So I learned to play the guitar like 2 years ago. And I try to play the guitar and make songs for them. They just like, no, daddy, put the guitar down, daddy. I'm like, okay. Every single time I pick it up, I'm just like, I really thought they would have thought that was fun, but not all my ideas are good ideas, I guess, right?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
3-year-old.
Yeah. No, not all of them are going to line up.
No.
Um, so I want to talk a little bit about what you have going on now. With is it the Art and Healing Foundation?
Yeah, that's the name of it. That's what we got going on. It's pretty special what we're trying to do, and it's pretty unique. And we've actually had some good feedback from people so far. I mean, it's really early stages. We've only done 4 interviews so far with people, but it kind of so here's kind of how it even started, or even like the idea of it all. So when I was doing those drawings, and I went to that art therapy class, and like I got inspired, and I started doing all these drawings. I got my degree in architecture. Don't end up in architecture. Terrible. Could never sit and do drawings all day. But I love painting, and I love being creative still. So I had all these drawings, all these paintings I did, and I was like, oh, it'd be really cool, like if I like compiled all of them into like a little book, and like kind of write like a little story about myself, and like leave it for my kids and like my family, like just something I can just, I might not leave hundreds of millions of dollars, I might not leave all these things, but like at least I can leave like something of substance about my existence. And like now I think really long term about life. Like it's funny like how much things change as you know get older, have kids, things start, you start thinking about life long term. And I think it'd be really cool to like share that with them at some point, when they're older. When I'm gone, there's something, if that's the only thing I leave behind besides my children, like, here's a little story of dad. So I'm like sitting up we're living at my parents' house. This is like probably 2000, what's 2022, maybe 2023, no, 2022 probably. And I'm sitting up there, I'm like going through all my drawings, trying to get like take images of them and things like that. And once again, like this idea just kind of comes to me, and I just start writing it down. Like, I'll call it like art in the picture that I was going to bring. But the book's name was like Art and Healing: One Man's Journey Through the Lens of His Artwork. And it was going to just be like kind of me telling my story, and like how my artwork, you can see like this progression from like chaos to order, where it's like all these pictures I was doing in the beginning were very chaotic, and like I'll have to share it with you, but I have like the PDF version of it. And it kind of just shows this progression to like when I finally actually got sober. The last painting I did was this kind of like mosaic looking um, butterfly. But like without anytime I would draw, like I wouldn't draw like with this is what I'm going to paint or this is what I'm going to draw. I would just kind of sit down and I would just start drawing lines, or I'd have a ruler and I would just start like making lines and drawings and things like that. And I'd like, oh, that felt good, or like that looks good. I like how that is. And all my artwork kind of just like unfolded like that. They're all kind of like mosaic. Yeah, some of them eyes, like kind of bizarre, abstract kind of stuff. But like when I finished it, I was about 6 months sober, and it was like this. I hung it up on the wall, and I showed my mom. And she's like, "Oh, look at it! It's a butterfly, and there's like a cocoon in the center with like this fiery explosion." And like it dawned on me. I was like, "Wow!" I was like, "That's nuts." I was like,
I didn't know I drew that.
"Well, I did it." And the crazy thing is, like, I was going. That's like the moment I was going through like my psychic awake, like this mental awakening, like this spiritual awakening. Like there was something happening inside of me, within my mind and my heart, that like was being like unconsciously put through onto this painting. And I'll have to share it with you. I don't know if you've seen it. And like I had finished that at the same time I was finishing the 12 steps. And like it was this kind of like catalyzing moment. I was like, wow, like this is tangible. Like this isn't just like, an idea, like, oh yeah, I'm having it. Like it's real, it's happening. It's like something inside of me is showing me like this is happening. Because like the butterfly and the cocoon is like symbolically meant to mean like spiritual awakening, like awakening. And so like I was like I really clung to that. And months go on, again, I think years go on. I'm finishing up my degree, and like I'm like, what am I gonna do with all these drawings? I always had this yearning. I'm like, I want to share. I like sharing. I like helping. I'm like, there's got to be other people that could relate to these experiences with art and with healing and with developing through the medium of being creative. Like there's something about being creative that's healing, whether it's art, music, dance, writing. Like there's something just healing mentally, there's something healing spiritually. Like there's something that's happening when you're sitting down and you're doing something that's forcing you to be outside the box, outside the normal, like you're talking about, like the script that we have. Like we have a script we do every single day. So something about getting outside that script is healing. And I remember I was upstairs and I started formulating the book, and like I put the book together, and like I got it printed on like Amazon, or what I think it's Kindle or something like that. And like I put it up on Amazon just so I could buy the copy of it and have it printed. I
Yeah,
didn't know where I didn't know how to like get. I couldn't find anywhere to like just get one or two printed. Then I realized I was like, oh, Kindle will publish it, and then I could just buy it from Amazon, and they'll put it all together and send it to me.
nice. And now
That's
you
how I
have
did it.
two sales, so that's great.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. A few other people bought it. That I told. I don't promote it because that wasn't the whole point of it. And then I met a gentleman. His name's Pat. He was coming to a Bible study at my house, and he's does what you do. He was a photographer for a long time. He's made short films. He's done music videos. Like he was telling me all about this, and I was like, dude, it's like it'd be really cool. I was like, what if we made like just like a short little documentary about me and like this stuff? And then I was like, that's real. Didn't feel right. I was like, and I kind of sat with it for a little while. I was like, well, what if we come up with like something that could like tell stories of like multiple people, like multiple different times or multiple different ways, like it helps people, whether it's like alcoholism or it's some kind of trauma or some kind of PTSD, and like people tell their stories and how art played a role in their healing. And like it kind of started growing from that. Me and Pat would get together, talk about it, and then we kind of came up with the idea. Well, if we're gonna make this like kind of short film documentary type thing, I was like, we're gonna want to share some places, and if we're gonna want to share some places, I was like, we should probably set up some kind of 501c3 so that we can really impact and help in some way with like whether it's rehab facilities, whether it's mental institutions. So when we share this with places, if we can start doing funding, we can then start to allocate funds to different places to support whatever kind of needs it is to help facilitate, art within these facilities, whether it's materials or paying for art therapists to go into these places, and things of that nature. And then, you know, at some point, be able to hold like, um, what's the word for it? When people show their artwork, like people that
uh, like a gallery,
something of that nature, like people that were
like
like,
an expose.
yeah, like be able to host those kinds of things for people that like maybe were a part of what we were supplying, and they can like share their artwork and different things and tell their story. And like I ended up just start emailing people that were that had stories that they could that were involved. And like the first lady I reached out to was this lady Anne McCoy, um, who's like actually a really established artist. She's got Guggenheim awards. She's pretty much all over. If you look her up, she's all over the place. Her artwork. Um, and we were emailing her, and she got back to me like right away. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I was like, people are getting back to me. So we set up a time to go up and sit with her and like record her. And she was the first interview we did. She was up in Brooklyn, I think Brooklyn, New York, and she loved the idea. And like, come to find out, like she's been over 54 years, and she was like,
Wow.
yeah, oh yeah, it was like, and it's crazy. Like when you start doing like these kind of creative things, it's like these like stepping stones just start to like materialize out of thin air, and like things start to like kind of sync up. Like there's like these moments of synchronicity where it's like, all right, we're doing something, like something's happening. Like I couldn't have orchestrated this, but like I'm open and I'm like just trying to do whatever I can, and then all of a sudden we step on the right path, and it's like, oh yeah, let me point you into the next direction. And like that encouraged us and inspired us more, and we started to reach out to more people, and we came across this young lady on Instagram. Her name's Kelly Galipsy. She has like a pretty decent following on Instagram. She's out in California. She makes like art with pill bottles and all these different things. And like Pat flies out to California, interviews her, and like she's got an amazing interview, and like amazing artist, just like all around, just really cool. And like that inspired Pat more, and like we start getting into like um, I guess psychologists and doctors that like have maybe tapped into this kind of stuff. And like Pat is kind of like the head of the whole. He's kind of heading the whole thing. I kind of just was like,
You're an idea man.
I just was,
Yeah.
I always have like just things running through my head. I'm like, and like half the time, none of it's good, but there's that 1% I'm always trying to like just align myself with. Like, there's this 1% that I know is true, that I know is good, and I know can come forth and like help and like do something, and like this felt like that. And like, dude, some days I'm like, what are we doing? But then I look back to like what we've done already, and it's like something's happening here. And I think we just got to keep going forward. And like sometimes quickly, sometimes faster, fastly things happen. But right now it's going slow. But like, we met a gentleman. His name was Quentin Green. He was a war veteran, and he's like got all this awesome art. He's done art. He's done galleries all over the place. Local guy. Got to interview him, and like, he put us in contact with a whole bunch of other artists that have similar stories. And it's like there's this whole community of people in the art world where it's like they all have this story to tell, with like art and healing, and how art, either played a role in their healing or tells a story of healing. And like, there's lots of people out there that can share with this. And like, the craziest thing is, it's like some of these people were artists, like trained artists. Like Anne was a trained artist, but she also had a story of art and healing. Quentin wasn't a trained artist. I wasn't a trained artist, but like we found ourselves in these doing these creative things, and like we ended up Pat, who has been reading a lot of these different books, was able to get an interview with Doctor. I'm gonna butcher her name. It's terrible.
Please
Um,
do.
Doctor Girja Camille, where she
Okay.
was the president of the Art Therapy Society, and like he just did her interview recently up at Drexel University. And like things are happening, and like doors are opening, and we're getting these opportunities, and it's like, who knows what's going to come next. We're just trying to, the whole idea is to just shed light, bring light, help. And I think when you set your intentions on just wanting to help and like share stories that can inspire others, it starts to just kind of happen. You just got to like do it. And we've been doing it. And like, who, I don't know who's next. We meet like maybe once a month to talk about what we're doing. It's not a quick thing. We know that, but it's happening. And Pat, he's the guy who's really taken charge on it. He's been doing a fantastic job. I tried calling him before this. I was like, so what, anything new we have going on that I can share? Not yet, but
That's awesome. So the doctors that the one that you talked to and maybe some that you're going to be talking to, are you trying to explore, what is like medically or scientifically happening to somebody as they start expressing themselves through art that helps them alleviate, trauma and pain and addiction, and just kind of like bringing them to a new place in life?
Yeah, so the idea is to kind of have the stories of the individuals, they tell it themselves, and then also have the doctors kind of giving the scientific reasoning behind maybe what's happening. Like there's a thing called neuroaesthetics. Like there's a lot of these people that have done thesis style work on this stuff. We're trying to get more involved with and get them involved with the project and get them interviewed and have their take on these things. So we can kind of like bounce back and forth between the people's personal experiences and like actually the backing to like what's actually happening with the individuals and how, you know, being creative, whether it's painting or music or video editing, there's something happening to the individual. And we're trying to find a way to tell that story. One, it's not an easy thing to do. Like you would know better than anybody editing and putting a story together, and like it's not an easy thing.
Well, I think it's a hard concept to conceptualize because, like, think to your own experience, right? Where you're exploring art and it's helping you kind of get through a hard period of your time, and now it's set you up for, the path that you're on now. And I bet you feel like when these things are lining up, right, where you meet somebody who's an artist and she happens to be sober for 50 something years, and you're like, oh man, like almost feels like it was meant to happen. Do you feel verification that you are on your intended path
Oh yeah.
finally, after all those years of, kind of living in the darkness?
Oh, I mean, I'll tell you even something crazier. So like I went to school I studied architecture, and like I was fixed on like that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna become an architect and this and that. And I didn't have a kids or wife when I started going to college. You know,
They'll slow you down a little bit.
and I, and I remember like thinking to myself, I was like, well, I thought this is what I was supposed to do. I thought this is what God is God inspired me to become. You know, and I'm like, it just doesn't. I just don't see it as like a feasible path right now. And I remember getting my degree. Gosh,
Man down. That will happen 2 more times.
no, I don't say that.
It is written in the prophecies.
I'll
Matt
say,
will drop his phone 4 times.
it.
Nah, you're good, man. Continue. I'll tilt you in post. No, you're good.
But it's crazy. So it's like those moments in time where it's like, am I on the right path? Am I aligning with like what I kept seeing myself in my head all those years ago? The best version of myself. Because I always try to mentally see like this person, this version of myself that's the best. And like, am I striving towards that or am I not? And it's like moments like that where you're talking about where it's like you see these moments of synchronicity or that align. And it's like I remember I was working for a company, um, form services out of Maryland. I was doing sales for form work, like tilt up construction, formwork construction. Um, and I had reached out to a company called Sylvie Materials, and I wanted to see if I could take one of their sales reps to lunch because the guys are selling the concrete. I need to get a relationship with these guys,
Mm-hmm.
Like they're the ones that are going to put me to who's doing the work so I can maybe, start renting equipment, selling material, whatnot to them. And it's funny because like I make that phone call, I talk to a gentleman, we never end up getting lunch. We're like 3 months, 4 months later, he ends up calling me. He's like, look, I'd love to talk to you about maybe coming to work for us. And like, I was kind of reluctant because I was like, well, I kind of like where I'm at. I'm kind of picking up pace. They gave me a nice truck. But I end up meeting him, talking to him, and kind of that job kind of gets given to someone else. And I was like, it would be nice to be local because I was having to go down to Maryland, Delaware. Like I was all over the place. It was
Mm-hmm.
a lot. So I had another role for like aggregate sales, which is like handling their quarry materials and things like that. So I applied for that role. And like I go through I don't know 2-3 months of interviews. They're getting to know me, I'm getting to know them, and they got to know me fully. I kind of have this thing where it's like when I'm interviewing, like I wanna be totally honest with the company about my life and like my pitfalls and my weaknesses and my strengths. the gentleman Don who interviewed me the first time was pretty good at like getting straight to it. I shared a little bit about my recovery and my story and things like that. I was convinced. I was like, "God, they're not going to hire me." I ended up getting to like the final interview with Larry Sylvie, who's the son of the Sylvie. He's Larry the third, and then my boss now, Rich. And I ended up telling them about what I'm doing with this project, and they loved it. They're like, "That's the kind of stuff we want to hear about our employees. Employees would be doing like things outside of work. They're trying to help." He's like, I love that. I'm glad you shared that." And I'm like, "I'm glad that like you've been honest with us about everything. Like we want people like that, authentic people." And I was like, wow. That's something you don't always expect that. I always expect to be rejected when I share my full who I am, what I've been through, and all these different things that make me the person I am. And I'm getting hired. And like, and it's been like, dude, the best company. I mean, I like the people I work with every day. I enjoy going to work. It's funny. I'm not an architect. I don't know. I definitely have a script every day. I'm reaching out to people, talking to people. It's nothing. I don't know. It's not earth moving. I'm not, a doctor, but it doesn't matter because I do know that, like, at some point, this what we're doing with this project, it's going to impact people. And it's funny. I think it's their kind of video marketing guy had reached out to me because I had submitted like what I was doing because I want to be able to support people that are doing things outside of work. He like started spitballing ideas. He's like, when you guys, finish up with your projects, like we'll rent a movie theater out. Maybe we can fund you guys a little bit. And like, I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah, like what? What are you talking
Like,
about?
I was like, you're making me nervous. I was like, because we're still so. I keep saying so far out from like actually a finished project and things like that. But like that little bit of like that encouraged me so much. It's like people want to be a part of this. People want to offer assistance, and like I don't know if it's a lot, I don't know if it's a little, but they really like it. They like it, and like I just like that kind of stuff makes you go, okay, maybe it's my ego that's telling me, oh, you should have been this or you should have been that, and really like I'm exactly where I need to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and like sometimes I think it should be more, it's got to be more,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah, I struggle with that. I mean, even right now through like harder times with business last year, I felt like I knocked it out of the park, and it was easier to stay connected with God. It was easier to stay connected with positivity and just like that energy that you want to operate in all the time. Super easy to do when things are going as planned or better than as planned. But even now when it's like kind of a rougher season for me, I still feel like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is a very important lesson that I'm being forced to learn, right? The old me would have ran from this opportunity to learn about how far I could actually be pushed, like how tough can things get and still come out the other side. I feel like this test is um appropriately timed for me, because I think in the minor successes that my business had last year, I was starting to get a little too comfortable with like, oh, this is just now how it's going to be, and it's like, no, it's not. Like, you do sales, so like without sales there's no business, right? So my business isn't at the point yet, or maybe never will be, where it just feeds itself, where it's like one project just lands you in the right place, the right conversation with the right person who leads you to the next one. It happens sometimes, but it's not consistent, and certainly nothing that I can rely on. So yeah, man, I kind of feel even in the rougher time, like we're right where we're supposed to be, and even though you're at this place, sounds like you really enjoy the people you work with, you and
yeah,
you
I
and
got some, I got some good guys I work with every day.
yeah, but and it feels good to share those more personal sides of you with your employer and be supported, right? And they're into it, man, and they love it. And I feel like that's yeah, you might not be an architect in this current role and position, but whatever it is you're doing there now is just setting up the blocks are moving in the right spots for whatever's about to come for you. And if that, God willing, is this foundation and the documentary and telling the stories and helping people, then I'm here for it, man. I got my popcorn ready. I'm eating. I love it, man. I absolutely love the
I
idea.
might be calling you some point to help with editing.
Yeah, or filming, man. I'll come out and film. I'll hold a boom mic for Pat.
I'm being
Feel like I
serious.
already know Pat, man. Yeah, I would love to help out in any way that I can.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
100%.
Me and Pat have already talked about it. We're gonna have to get more people involved at some point and start putting some money out to actually, because right now it's been self-funded. Me and him just been doing it ourselves. We've been funding everything ourselves. But we know at some point we got a few ideas in the mind to start getting some kind of donation and some kind of like events that could bring some money in, so we could start doing more. But
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. If there's any way I could help, I would love to um assist in any way, volunteer my time or my skills or my cameras or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, I would love to, man. One thing that I wanted to commit to this year, and actually last year, was to do a documentary. I've done maybe one or two, but I really want to find something kind of like how you found, you have a very deep connection to the purpose of going through this process and filming this documentary, right? This is something that has helped change your life and help, you know, bring you to the place where we're sitting right now. So I feel like I just need to find that thing and just I want to tell somebody's story or a bunch of people's stories. So I love it, man. It's inspiring me to maybe finally get that lined up.
I mean, I wish Pat was here because he's got a great take on it too. Because he's got a similar experience. That just when we first started doing this project, I mean, I don't want to tell his story for him, but he always says like I was in a dark spot. And he's like, ever since we started doing this, he's like, I just feel lighter. I was like, because there's something about just being creative and doing something outside of our script that you know frees you a little bit. I'm not saying it gives you salvation, you know, but there's something about being creative and doing something that could potentially help other people, is life giving.
It certainly unlocks something, right? Because, like, okay, you sit down to draw, and you said, like, you're not sitting down usually with the intent of what this thing is going to be. You just start pen to paper and just start making strokes of the pencil, right? And
Start making lines and circles.
just, yeah, you start tracing your hand. You got the hand
Yeah,
turkey going.
I never showed you any of my art.
No, I've never seen anything, I don't think.
Dude, that's terrible. I can't
Yeah.
believe I didn't share this with you.
Send me some stuff. If there's a link to it somewhere too, I'll drop a link in the thing. Um, Definitely send me a link to your book too, because I know you're not promoting that, but I'll start.
It's terrible. It,
Okay.
it's. I mean, you would enjoy it. I guess. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's just kind of a synopsis of like a little bit of my story, and then like all my art, and then in between each picture is like I like went around like looking for all these kind of quotes that align with like art and awakening, and so it's really. I'll send it to you though. You can
Yeah.
if I
You
had a
said some
it to you.
you said something earlier about when you first brought this idea to Pat and you were kind of starting to flesh it out where you're like, "Oh yeah, it'd be cool if we made a documentary about me." And then it sounded like you had some reservations about that. Is that kind of like ego, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, or is it more of like, I don't know if that's the best way to help the most amount of people, is to just focus on
The
me
latter.
as the subject?
The latter. I think the first part was I was like something didn't feel right when I first said it. I was like, let's do it about me, and I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to like share with like, because I wasn't. It was the goal wasn't like to make it to like promote it. It was just to make it to have it for me. And I was like, you know what? I was like, maybe there's something more here that like I'm not seeing yet. I was like, maybe there's something more here we can tap into that's like, mind you, I'm still gonna be in it, but it's not gonna be about me. It's a bigger story. It's about a story that collectively people have shared in.
Are
And
you narrating like the beginning of the story? Like, so does this begin in your mind, where it's like, where you're exploring the idea of it, and then it like you're just kind of telling the story of how this idea unfolds, and it goes from being isolated to you to wait, actually, I bet you there's a lot of people art has helped. What if we talk to those people? Where you're just kind of like using your initiation of the idea to like bring us into this everybody else's stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah, are you saying within the documentary?
Yeah, within the documentary, like what you envision it to be.
So that's funny you said that because I've actually brought that idea up to Pat of like giving a preface to the whole thing. Because I think
Hmm.
the preface to the whole thing could even make it more interesting. Um, like narrating it through that lens to like the greater idea, and like because it does show a little bit of like putting myself aside and realizing that it's not just me. You know, there's probably thousands of people out there that can relate to this one thing that I happen to touch. You know, that all of us have probably touched. And like there's people out there that aren't aware of like this thing that's happening when being creative that maybe could inspire them to go and try it with whatever the medium is. To get out of themselves through being, creative.
Yeah. Look, there's so
There's
many
still a
ways
lot
you
to
could.
flesh out with it, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
still a lot, and like Pat's carrying it in that sense. Like he's writing out like, I mean, he's got the formula for how he wants it to be kind of brought through, kind of like this chaos order. Um, and I'll share that with you too, so you can get like more of the idea. Um, I guess you could say I really just was the idea guy.
Hey, look, man, that's who I am. I got all the ideas. Forget who I was talking to, but I was like, yeah, I got a folder on my computer,
Yeah, I heard you say it. I
the
thought it was
great ideas folder. You know what I'm saying? Just put another one in the great ideas folder that'll never do anything.
and I
So,
always have ideas,
yeah.
and a lot of times I do. They're usually not that great, but
Well, it's funny because when you do have a good idea and then you have somebody like Pat who you could bounce that idea off of, who happens to have a skill set that is required to make this idea come to life, and he is passionate about it.
let me tell you something. He's on fire.
Yeah.
He's fired up because I'm most of my days. It's like I'm working, I'm coming home, go to the gym, put the girls to bed, repeat. And like he's working things like that, but like he's really taking a hold of this project. Like he got that interview with the doctor, and he's the one doing all this. He's educating himself on all these different therapists, psychologists, all reading all these books. I mean, he's putting a lot of legwork in to like help bring this thing into existence. I'm doing my part here and there. He flew out to California to meet with Kelly, and he did all 3-4 days out there with her, recording or getting all of her artwork, doing all the B-roll. I think the only place I was really involved with was I got Ann McCoy, and then I got Quentin, and I was a part of those two. And like I don't know who's next. I might find someone else. But
Yeah. No, that's incredible, man. I absolutely love it, man. And I know I already said it, but I love it, and I want to help if I can
no,
in
yeah,
any
yeah,
way. Yeah.
I'm gonna like this is you're
Yeah.
in.
Make a footnote.
I'm going to.
Like Mike said, he would help.
Pat. He said volunteer.
Yeah, yeah. He said volunteer. He said those words, volunteer. Yeah. No, I would love to, man. The question that I had asked you just before about like the ego thing, was it an ego thing where you don't want people to feel like, oh, I'm making everything all about me and my story is the important story or whatever. And it's like, okay, it doesn't sound like it was that, but ego is something that everybody struggles with, right? Like I've done a few ayahuasca ceremonies in the past couple of years with the intent of like killing the ego. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
good
saying?
luck. All it does
Yeah.
it makes it stronger.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I tell you what, I've had some pretty profound experiences in those ceremonies, right? So my pastor would not be proud of this.
I would agree.
But
I would agree. But
yeah, yeah.
I'm all
He's very clear. He's not happy about the ayahuasca. No,
don't
the
I'll call testament on you. Come on. I'm
yeah. No,
listening.
the it does have an uncanny ability to um give you the it gives you the ability to be introspective, right? And to be really reflective on what is going on in your life. Usually people that go and do ayahuasca, they're dealing with a lot of trauma. A lot of the people that I've met in these ceremonies are dealing with addiction issues, are dealing with physical and sexual abuse, all the way back to when they were a child, um, alcoholism, you name it, these people are dealing with it. marriage issues, and they're on this journey to try to seek an understanding of not only how can they heal from that, but what is the role, what is the part that they played in it, whether willingly or unwillingly, because a lot of times it's shit that happened when you were a kid that
Yep.
you've just unknowingly been carrying around and allowing it to dictate the way that you react to things and treat people and treat yourself, and maybe one's ability to love themselves or not love themselves or truly respect themselves. So I've heard a lot of these stories, and I go there for my own reasons. And I did come out of all of them except maybe the last ceremony that I did. I've done this 3 times. The first two, I felt like I came out with a very profound understanding of what I needed to do to heal some of the shit that I was carrying around with me and dealing with at that time. And then this last time that I went in, I didn't have a lot of that same baggage going in. The thing that I was carrying with me was a lot of self doubt. So this was like the end of last year. The last ceremony I did in January of this year. So like towards the end of the previous year, I'm feeling like a lot of self doubt building up. And for whatever reason, I'm coming off like a successful year, but I'm still like setting myself up for like not doing well for whatever reason.
Wait, what is the self doubt? What is it? Like, what's the script? What's the script that runs through?
For me, I think it's
Like, you got a story you play out. Do you see it or is it words?
that's a good question. I want to say it's I think it's I could visualize it. And what
Yeah.
it looks like is me never getting past this point. Whatever the highest level of success is, which isn't successful, like an actually successful person will see this and go, what the hell are you talking? You've literally done nothing, like, but when I compare, financial success or whatever to my years previous versions of myself, last year and the year before that, I had become this completely different person where I was actually disciplined and I was had a relationship that I was building with God, which I never ever had or even considered wanting to have. Um, just going through a lot of life changes in the household and in the way that I was treating the people around me and treating myself, and then going through sobriety and all of these things. And I think I could see myself more likely just sabotaging, like self-sabotaging, and like I don't know. I don't know if, like what I'm picturing is like
Do you
it
see
never gets better than this. So what the hell are you
yourself?
really
Yeah.
trying for? Yeah.
An image of yourself walking with your head down. What is it?
I think it's like I feel like I'm wearing a mask,
Sure, you may be.
like a costume almost.
Mhm.
Like a lot of imposter syndrome, which I think is like the which is why I think I see it as like a mask, right? It's like, oh, everybody out here thinks I'm like this real cool, successful video guy when really I'm just trying to figure out who the hell I am and if this is even what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I'm even good enough to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're great. At least the stuff I've watched you produce. But
But I don't feel the same way. Like
yeah,
I feel like I'm pretty good at what I do. But if I'm just being completely honest, I feel like I don't belong.
I got a
I
place. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm volunteering to go belong somewhere else. No, but no, I feel like I just feel like an imposter. Like who the hell am I to talk about videos? Who the hell am I to approach somebody and say, "Hey, you need what I do for your business to
oh,
achieve what you want?" Like just constantly like beating myself up over it.
yeah, that's tiring.
It's exhausting, dude.
Dude, that is tiring.
Yeah, which is why I was probably smoking and shit, to try to like avoid feeling that.
Yeah, that's a
Eh,
good. So that's why you smoke. All right,
Maybe, yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Probably not helping though.
Probably not helping. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it the best decision, but this is the reality that I'm in right now. Right now, what happens when you live in this reality long enough? Like, and you said it when you were telling your story about, when you were drinking, where you would kind of get isolated a lot of times physically isolated, people stop coming near you because you're disappointing, you steal shit, you're drunk, whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
physically you start isolating, but then mentally you start becoming isolated within your own thoughts. And then how long can you have self-doubt and negative thoughts and just pessimistic mindset where that is now the reality you've created for yourself? I feel like that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah,
Like I created the hard time that I'm in,
yeah. I
you
was
know?
just I used to just be present.
What's your prognosis, doctor?
I don't have a prognosis, but I'll tell you what I do though. I'll tell you what I do. Anytime I get caught in my thoughts, I just bring myself back to my present moment. I always just come back to breath. I mean, that's really what I'll do. And like that's nothing like woo woo or anything. Like literally just breathing is in the moment. So when I'm aware of my breathing, I'm always present. I don't know. It's like that's like the only thing I do. And I pray a lot, dude. I pray a lot. It's like the two things I do.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't
this
know. What do I know? I sell rocks.
you know a lot, man. You've been through a lot,
I have
you've struggled with your demons, and you seem to come out the other side not unscathed but experienced, like you've learned a lot about yourself. And
yeah, myself must go.
what does that mean?
It means the thing that I'm thinking about most of is myself, so then that must go.
Okay.
Whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Because, either way, to me, it's like I'm either like thinking too highly of myself or too low of myself. I'm never just always like right where I need to be. And usually right where I need to be is like not thinking about myself. And when I'm not thinking about myself, I'm free. It's like the weirdest thing. I'll tell you, it's the weirdest thing.
That's incredible.
I know it is incredible, but it's very weird because it's like you can be so self-aware of the fact that you're thinking about yourself, whether it's positive or negative, and realizing that neither of these things need to be true or false. I just need to be here. And the sooner I'm here, the better off I am. And everything just starts to go smoothly in life. And then I'm just knocking doors and talking to people, and it's like, wow, the less I think about myself, the more engaged I am with life and with the people around me.
Yeah.
That's
That's
been
power.
been my experience. Yeah, and it's a lot easier said than done because I know what it's like to be caught in negative thought patterns. It's terrible.
Yeah. No, it is terrible. When I did ayahuasca the last time, the first night it's 2 night ceremony, right? So you drink ayahuasca the first night. It's usually a very safe like the groups that I was with, it felt very safe, and it was like good energy
Yeah,
for the most part. But that first night I drank usually you drink like 1 cup of ayahuasca, and then you kind of go back into your little yoga spot and you just wait. And they're playing music and they're singing chants, and it's very beautiful. Like it could be very beautiful, and it could be absolutely terrifying because they will change the music on you, and the music carries you
oh yeah,
up and down. Like as the frequencies and the vibes lower, shit starts getting dark, and like they start fucking little feathers, they start waving around your head and shit. It's pretty intense.
in your face.
Yeah. But I had done that first cup, and after about an hour or so, the shaman will open up the window for you to drink more if you want. And so I'm there, and I'm not like really feeling anything yet right now. And this is third ceremony I've done. So I know first cup I should be feeling something, right? So I go up and I get a second cup. I drink the second cup. As soon as I drink the second cup, I know for a fact that we're about to blast off into outer space. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I got stuck in a mental loop where my intent going into that way, I think I started saying this earlier, was my intent was to figure out what this self-doubt was. Like uncork this bottle, like unroot this so that way I can go into this year kind of free from that thought. That was my intent of going, and it actually did not help in the way that I wanted it to. Previously when I went in, I had very specific baggage that I was trying to clear out, that it had to do with me, but it also had to do with a lot of other people. This time it was just like all introspective. And I got stuck in this loop where I was constantly trying to figure out why I have this self doubt. So I would have, I'm going to really try to explain this, but it's going to be impossible. So I would have a thought about trying to understand why I have self doubt. I would feel like I'm going a million miles an hour thought wise on trying to like words are flying by me and I'm trying to like grab one to
Yeah.
explain this self doubt. I would like just about to be able to conceptualize what is causing it and then it would fade away and then I would start back at the beginning of the loop of like shit how come I can't remember that thing and then it was like oh wait why do I have this self-doubt and then I felt like I was stuck like that. I mean it was like manic. It was
Yeah.
actually very fucking scary. I had a thought in the middle of it where I was like if I don't stop myself from I felt like I was probably moving at 10 billion miles an hour
Yeah.
and I said, if I don't stop myself from doing this, I'm going to be stuck like this forever. Like, that's what I felt like. So I got up and I was like by the fireplace and I was just kind of like,
A walk.
yeah, I need to walk this off. Yeah. And then,
Oh yeah.
and I freaking, I mean, it was a pretty wild experience after that. I had some profound moments, but then, I remember thinking that first night, like, how the hell am I supposed to do this tomorrow? Like, I'm here for another night. I'm supposed to do more ayahuasca tomorrow and like continue the fucking journey. And it was so intense that I just couldn't imagine I'd be able to do it. Here comes night two, and I'm going into night two kind of terrified because I'm like, shit, if I get stuck in that trap again, I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. And then I drink the first cup and I feel nothing. And
Yeah.
then I drink a second cup and I still pretty much feel nothing. And then I drink a third cup and I start feeling some stuff, but it was nothing like the first night. I found myself chasing that feeling that I was terrified to be in the first night. Night two, I was chasing it.
Hmm.
And I was trying to figure out why the hell am I doing that? Like it almost seems like punishment. Like I'm trying to torture myself or something. It was a weird thing, man. Really, really weird. It didn't have the intended outcome that I usually come out of those experiences with. I usually come out feeling very light and
Nice afterglow.
understanding. Yeah, just like an immense love, understanding of what it means to love somebody else. So I would come back and like everybody around me would be very obvious. You know, I'd be kind of like walking on clouds. I would be very aware, I think is probably the right word to explain it.
Mhm.
And then this last time I didn't come out of it the same way. I don't think it had like necessarily a negative impact, but it didn't help. And I think what I kind of realized was I don't really need to chase that um, experience
No.
anymore. I think what ayahuasca, like many other drugs, especially hallucinogenics, will do is just give you an ability to see or hear what's already going on inside you. Right. So, for example, we have something that we're carrying around with us that turns us into an asshole, right? We treat our wife like crap. We treat our kids like crap. We don't really know what it is, but there's something going on there. But we never take the time to actually figure that out, right? We don't go
I'll tell you what it is right now.
go for it.
Well, usually it's one of two things. Either there's unforgiveness in your heart or there's lack of acceptance for the life you have. That's my experience. Anytime I'm either of those things, it's usually I have unforgiveness or I'm unwilling to accept reality as it is presently in front of me. So then I resist reality, which then makes me frustrated, angry, resentful. And then I act out sometimes on those, whether it's raising my voice or, whatever. That's my experience with it. I don't know. And then it's like, well, where's my unforgiveness? It's if you start with yourself, you're already in the wrong position.
What if what if it's something that you so do you mean unforgiveness for yourself, like you're not forgiving yourself or somebody else?
Usually it's other people. And it's usually stories that maybe look like it's usually other people we have unforgiveness for. Usually. But like the funny thing about our memories and our minds, they skew stories. And that's why it's always good to write things out. I don't know. And like that's been my experience. I know when and I think that's what's so beneficial about like all the 12-step stuff is like it makes you take that inventory of like all those resentments, all those, moments of dishonesty and people you've hurt and the lies you said and all the things you've done in life. Like when you actually like go through like your inventory and like you realize like, the negative impact you've had on lives around you, you start to like see like, oh my gosh, there's so much unforgiveness and forgiveness I have to have. And like, how can I rectify my past? And I think when I began to rectify my past, I got more and more free. Because there's a lot of people I had hurt along my life, you
Mm-hmm.
know. When I start going backwards to like make things that were wrong right, which sometimes was as simple as like, you know, to like we'll say like my mom, mom, like you didn't raise a bad son, you know what I mean? Like I just had my own will. I was like, you're an amazing mother. And like, I just am trying to make what I did in the past right. And all my mom wanted was for me to continue on the path I was on, which was becoming the man she always knew I could be. Because like we affect so many different people in so many different ways. I remember I'll tell you a story about my brother. I remember me and him used to get in fights, and we were like 22, 23 or something like that. I don't know what it was. We ended up getting into like a domestic violence case. We had gotten a fist fight on like Christmas morning or something. I don't know. Whole thing. I remember I went, it was like maybe 10 months into sobriety. I was like trying to like make amends to him and like, ask what I could do to like rectify the past and things like that. And, he became open and like willing to like hear me out and like, engage with me again. And like it opened the door because like he saw, I did want to find forgiveness from him or, be able to let go of what the past was. It's funny because like 4 or 5 months later, he ends up calling me when I'm up on campus and like asking me to help him, and like now me and my brother have this like awesome relation. I go to the gym with him, we hang out, we talk. He's an uncle to my kids, and there was 2 years we didn't talk, because it was just like I don't know. Usually, those are in my experience. Those are the things that like make me more blocked off and like create more negative storylines. But like when I started like fixing my past, I started fixing my present. It was very interesting.
Was there ever a moment where you felt like you had to forgive yourself for shit that you did too, though?
Well, so the self forgiveness happens when you seek to rectify your past with others. So like it wasn't that I had to find a way to forgive myself. It was that I had to go find a way to make what was wrong I did in my life right. And through that self forgiveness, that self whatever happens. So it's like a byproduct. It's not seeking, I have to love myself. I have to forgive myself. It's that no, there's people I've negatively impacted in life and I need to go find a way to make things right. And like through that, you gain all those things that you think you need. How to explain it? I don't know if I'm putting this together well enough.
No, no, no. No, I think you explained it very well.
Like
The
I heard a guy say to me one time. He's like, write some resentments out. I'm like, well, I resent myself. He's like, that's a little selfish. Let's start like
yeah, let's start now with you.
let's not start with you. I was like, obviously, like this is all about you. So it's like when I started realizing like my problem is me and my thinking about myself and all this stuff. And the sooner I got out of that and started realizing like, yeah, it was. There's something about that, and like all that stuff about self love and self forgiveness is a byproduct of like life is relational. You know, engage with people every day. How I engage with people every day. Like if I engage with someone like negatively, like it affects me negatively. Like if I act a certain way, or if I am judgmental, or am I rude, or all these different things. So I definitely still have my moments. You know, what I
Hmm.
mean? Where I can be an arrogant, egotistical asshole. I'm not proud of it, but I do know that like if I do something in a way that's like not, for lack of a better word, like godly, I guess you could say, I'll either go apologize to that person and be like, look, I was off. I was kind of self doubt. I was, not acting in the right character. I was like, I was wrong. Whether it's I say something like, please forgive me, whatever. Like I always am doing stuff like that because I'm not always on point. But there's something in that. Like I try not to justify myself with anything. Like I did that because of this. I that way because of that. I don't do that. I try not to do that to myself as much as possible.
Your phone's about to fall again, by the way. I told you, dude. I could see it creeping slowly. I see more and more ceiling as that
Maybe
sentence unfolds.
your worst podcast ever.
This is the worst, dude. This is gonna be the one that gets 100 billion views. No, they're like, there's something so natural about it.
No, but there's something about, I don't know.
So,
Like,
so through the act of rectifying the wrongs that you've done in the past, allows you to relinquish that feeling of guilt that
yeah,
you have for doing those things in the first
and,
place, which
and
stops you from being able to move forward.
a lot of it's just rooted in that part of your mind that you're not even aware of until you start to. I remember I got in a car accident out front of where your brother lived. I rear-ended a lady. It wasn't even my car; it was my dad's car. And I don't know how long sober I was, but when I was like 14 or 15, I would like act out and like just a lot of like rage act, like blackout stuff. My parents didn't know how to handle it at that time. I had gone to like behavior modification type stuff. I don't even like talking about this because it's kind of embarrassing. I like just had no control over my emotions at like 14, 15, like zero. And I really called the cops. The cops would come to my house, I don't know, quarterly, and I would get taken to like skip or something like that. And I remember, I'd swing on cops, like just, crazy stuff, and I remember all those cops that were arresting me when I was younger showed up to that um, scene of the accident.
To the accident, yeah.
It hit me. I was like, here's another moment. Here's a synchronistic moment where I have an opportunity to rectify my past more. Thank these officers for what they did because they probably helped me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in all those years I was like, oh, screw cops. Dude, what?
What do you think led to like when you were 14, 15, you didn't have a lot of control over your emotions or your anger?
Mental development. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
No, I'm just curious because my son's 11 years old, so he's about to start hitting that age. I remember how I was right around that age, dealing with my parents being divorced, my stepfather being physically abusive, like things like that. That definitely aided to me being who I was as a kid and a young man, and certainly who I am here today.
That's a great question. I really couldn't answer that unless I just think it had to do with just mental development. I mean, I think I just was a young kid with a lot of ADHD and a lot of energy and a lot of will to do what he wants to do. Because even for me, and it was always just I was going to do what I wanted to do. If there was any, it would escalate and escalate till it was just like I would just go nuts, pretty much. Pretty much, just would go nuts. And then my parents wouldn't even know what to do, and they would just call the cops. I mean, just call the cops. I mean, and by the way, my parents are great people. Like they raised, like they weren't ever. I mean, I don't ever recall like my dad cursing. He never hit us. Okay, we were spanked, but rarely. It wasn't like a every day, because kids can do something wrong every day. Let's be honest. I got three of them right now. I'm like every day they're doing something. I'm like, all right, you
Yeah,
guys.
they're doing it. They're testing your
Oh,
patience.
every day. It wasn't like that. I don't. I just think sometimes some people just are genetically different, and everyone has their own experience. And some kids, God bless them, never have issues. And like, dude, that's awesome. Honestly, shoot, I
Do
wish I
you
never.
think
I
it's
wish I never. But then at the same time, I don't because it's like I am who I am today because of all the things. Like either one, I put myself through, or just give me a thumbs up.
no? You did. It's your iPhone, I think. I don't
Uh,
think mine does that. No,
uh,
no, it's your iPhone. That happened a couple times. I'm like, ooh, what is that? um, so yeah, so that was actually the next thing that I was gonna say was maybe maybe you being who you were when you were 14 years old, 15 years old is exactly who you were supposed to be in order for you to be who you are today.
oh,
And what I was gonna say was, is that just like a like a weird way of trying to like justify, you know?
I'll tell you right now, I get to talk to young guys all the time.
Mhm.
There's plenty of young guys I try to help and mentor in a lot of different ways. I mean, tons. I mean, there's a young guy I was talking to today that I helped. And he was telling me we were in the sauna talking, and like the one guy I walk in, he's talking to the other older guy, and they're talking about something, and somehow like I got brought into the conversation. They're like, he's like, you know each other? I was like, yeah. I was like, tell him the story, and like he tells him the story how I pretty much ran into this kid out of nowhere, and then I ended up inviting him to the Bible study, and like his whole life changed, and like, I was able to like mentor him and tell him different things. So like, no, I'm very grateful for the things I've been through because I can be a voice of reason at times with these people that are going through things. And I love the fact that I can share my experiences and help whoever I can, whether it's on a small scale, big scale, it doesn't matter. I just want to help one person, you know? If that's all I ever help is one person, like that's good, you know?
Yeah, we often think, especially people who are maybe not don't have like an actual relationship with God, or even some that do, or that are just having trouble with it, they'll say, well, if there's a God, or and he's all loving, and how come there's drug addicts, and how come my brother is a drug addict, and how come they lost their child during the pregnancy, and why could this be, and how could this be? And I think for and I don't have the answer, by the way, so let me preface it with
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't have the
Don't,
answer. Yeah, but
I could give you the theological answer, what the would say, we live in a
mhm,
fallen world, things in a fallen world, that's what happens.
yeah. But I think some of us are required to go through these experiences so that way we can be that beacon of light for somebody else, even if it's just one other person. That I truly do believe that could be your whole intent. Your whole intent in this life here on this earth could be to live your experience, as effed up as it might be, as up and down and rocky as it might be, to come out of that, to have that lived experience, to help one other person who then goes on to do what they're intended to do. And then that just ripples out, ripples out. And again, I don't know if that's exactly true because I have no way to prove it, but I want to believe that. And that's what I'm going to believe.
Or just stating shit. You
That's
don't know
it.
if it's true or not. We're just saying it.
Yeah.
No, but I do think there's a ripple effect when you're reaching your hand out to help people. Because that inspires others to do the same. So I do think there is some kind of cause and effect with that. I do think that's a real thing. I mean, I know when people have helped me, it inspires me to help people. So it's like there is an energy to that. There is a transference that's happening that pushes other people to do more. I've had this where it's like you do something for someone randomly out in the world, right? And they're like, you restored my hope in humanity. It's like, yeah, it's a common thing. I've heard that more than once. So there is something happening when we do that. Maybe that guy went on to do something nice for somebody that day, and it's like it's as stupid as it sounds, and as little of it as an impact, it might make, it made my day better.
Hmm. Yeah. No, man, I think it's are you optimistic with humanity right now?
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I? Who's in charge? So why would I not be?
Exactly. I love it.
Like,
Yeah.
look, I love getting down any conspiracy rabbit hole. I love it all. I think it's great. But at the end of the day, I'm like, where's my faith? Not in this, you know? So it's like, whether it's politics being ridiculous. And like, dude, honestly, I don't fall on either side of anything. Like, sure, yeah. To me, it's irrelevant, really, when I
Hmm.
look at it, when I take an actual pause and like, I'm not just trying to be, I don't know, what's the word? Like, I don't, there's no salvation in who's my president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no nothing on how high the stock market can go. Like, at the end of the day, we're all going to cease, you know? And that sounds a little morbid, but I think at the end of the day, like, I used to have this crazy thought when I was a kid, when I was like maybe 6 or 7. I would lay in bed at night and I would like wonder, like, what would happen? What happens when I die? Like what happens when my parents and my family dies? Or like what happens when like everyone ceases to exist on the planet? Because at some point the planet won't be inhabitable. Obviously, that's millions of years from now, probably. But like at some point, the Earth would be inhabitable. And the sun won't be hot enough to keep the Earth the way it is, and the Earth will just freeze over, and it'll just be a block of ice floating through space. And will there ever be humans? And I would like go on until it got to this point where it's just like this empty void, and I would like freak out, and I would jump out of my bed and like run to my mom and my dad, like crying. Or my mom would pray for me, and like all of a sudden, like I'd feel peace. Like I knew
Hmm.
there was something happening within that. It took years for me to like come to that revelation that there's more to this existence than just the physical, and like there's more to all of this. But it's funny. I'm not.
No, 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 go ahead. I'm just
Yeah,
breathing.
I just
I'm
I
just breathing over here, man.
no
Taking it in.
I just yeah, I'm definitely an optimist on humanity and life. Absolutely.
What do you think the why is it so powerful when you kind of sacrifice your, and I might not be saying this right, but when you give yourself to God and you kind of relinquish feeling like you need to try to control and understand every aspect of your life and existence, what is the why is it so powerful? Because I've felt this in my life, um to say, like, live like, you know I don't know, man, live like a Christian where you're like, hey, this is out of my hands. Like, yeah, I still have to show up and do my part, but ultimately this is out of my hands. And there's a weird superpower that comes with that. What is it? I've been trying to like figure out.
Freedom?
Yeah, it does feel like freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, it is freedom, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it's freedom. It's liberation from self, and living the sacrificial life where you're living for others. So it's like, I don't know. There's not enough time to think about yourself. Life's good.
Yeah.
Like when there's not enough time for me to think about myself and whatever problems I think I have, because all my problems are usually 99 or whatever amount of percent of problems I think I have usually aren't true because I kind of delude myself in the stories I tell myself about the problems I think I have. And usually none of them are actually true. So it's like the less time I have to think about any of that and the more time I have to focus on like what's presently in front of me, the better my life is. Whether I have $100 million in my bank account, $100 in my bank account, $10,000 in my bank account, like the true gift of life is living in the moment and being present with what I have in front of me. I'm not. I felt like I've been worth billions of dollars because there's some kind of very wealthy feeling when you're here now, presently, with like love in your heart, with like the people around you, whatever it is you're doing. You can be at work feeling like that, and I don't actually have it in my account, but there's something very wealthy about being freed of oneself, and living your life towards what we're meant to be doing. I don't know. That's been my experience, and like that's not every day at all.
Yeah.
Those moments are what I live for, and like that recognition of like who it is I serve and what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm trying to find myself back in that position because I feel like in the what's that? What'd you say? Stop smoking weed? Is that what you said?
It's a good place to start.
Yeah, it's probably the place to start.
It's probably the play. I mean, dude. I mean, from everything you've shared, it sounds like you should probably stop smoking weed.
Yeah, yeah. Look, man, like usually when somebody is willing to share that vulnerability, it's for a reason, right? It's like I did this the last time I stopped smoking, where I was like telling my mentor and a good friend of mine, like, yeah, I don't really know, like, I don't know, I feel like smoking's kind of getting in my way. And he's like, yeah, I know, like you seem like you want me to tell you to stop. And I'm like, well, you telling me to stop is not going to make me stop, but it probably is a thing that I need to hear because everybody else around me is just like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always,
Yeah.
I always enjoy like I got a mentor. It's always good to have guys that, and I got friends. I don't have many friends for a reason because it's like the ones I do have, I value a lot because they're truth tellers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I need guys like that in my life. And it's hard to find to have like a lot of guy friends that are like that. You got There's only really a few you can have, and they're far in between. But I got them, and like, and we're all sober. None of us drink. None of us do anything. It's like I haven't regretted not not drinking or smoking weed. I haven't regretted it. But yeah, that's crazy to say. Like I'm not regretting not doing it. I'm like, man, like I wish I could just smoke. No, I don't wish that.
Yeah, yeah. If you only had one wish, it would not be that.
No, like it's like and like maybe and I don't think I'm better than anyone for not doing it. Because like I'm a little different than everyone else that can do it on their own. Like I'm not the kind of guy that could just do it one day and then not do it for a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a little genetically different, and I accept that. Like I can't. I used to smoke weed all the time, and I would just think about it when I wasn't doing it. When I was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
do it,
Like
you know
two
what I
more
mean?
hours, I'll be able to smoke again.
Yeah,
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 yes. Or I take a break for a few days, and like one day goes by, and it's like, all right, that's been good.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, one day. Yeah, the sun has set and risen one time, and you're like, oh well, that's a reset.
You know what we call that?
What do we call that?
The obsession.
Okay.
It's called the obsession of the mind. the mind it obsesses over like when you're gonna do it.
Hmm.
That's something you think about. If that is something that happens in your head when you're not doing it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's a
No,
real thing.
for sure.
That's what separates people, whether the obsession of the mind or they don't.
That's
Because
an
if I feel,
addictive. That's tied to like an addictive. That's like an addictive trait.
it can be, yeah, absolutely. And I'm not a therapist or anything or a psychologist or anything like that. This is my experience because I had that where it's
Hmm.
like think about it when I could do something, when I could get that drink, when's work over so I can take some shots of Jaeger or something,
Yeah.
like or smoke a joint, whatever. And like March 28th, 2019, like that was taken from me completely, like that day. And I haven't obsessed about anything for the last 6 years. Fleeting thoughts are different. Obsession is like days on end thinking about it, romanticizing it, thinking all the good times I had. And like those good times were like when I was 17, 8. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's been a long time since there were good times, like going to my
Yeah.
first concerts and all that kind of stuff. It's funny how it works on you.
Yeah.
All the good stuff.
Yeah. So how does one get? How does one fight through those obsessions to to start anew? You know.
Look,
Well, I'm asking for a friend. Hold on. I'm asking for a friend now. I'm not even asking for me.
I got answers, man. I'll tell you that. I'm armed with the facts.
Yeah.
Only about this one thing. Only about this one thing. One, because I've been through it my own self, and two, I've seen and helped other guys go through this. I mean, dude, your brother was one of the first guys I helped.
Hmm.
He was one of the first individuals that I got to come in contact with, and your brother probably helped me more than I helped him, honestly. I mean, your brother, I called him tonight. He prayed with me tonight. Like
He's a good dude, man. He's got a
yeah,
good
he is.
heart.
He
And
does.
he's always had that good heart. It just was
He's nuts. Don't get me wrong. He's nuts.
he could be a lunatic sometimes.
That's why I love him.
Now imagine him just
Oh no,
like
I don't want to. I don't want to.
free spirit of drinking and
Uh-huh.
drugging and I
Him,
mean, you want to talk about nuts.
and Kenya and oh dude, I feel terrible right now. Benson, we're over 2 weeks ago or so. I'm over hanging out.
Yeah,
Shit
they
is,
were just up for Easter at our place.
yeah, that's what he's telling me.
Yeah, we went to church or whatever. So I think
Or
something
whatever.
that Brian tells me and I kind of got away from it, which was the same thing that happened to him when he relapsed.
Yeah, I know. I would call him all the time. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah,
What are you
yeah.
doing?
Well, Brian's up to no good when you haven't heard from him in 2 days.
Uh,
Yeah,
2 days,
um,
months.
yeah. Well, that's where it starts because when you are in Brian's sphere of like accountability and friendship, right? Like my brother well enough
Yeah,
where you probably talk to him on a regular enough basis where it's like 2-3 days without hearing from my brother turns into 2 or 3 weeks,
yeah.
but it's like what's going on, but it's the same thing that most addicts do. They isolate because they don't want
Yeah,
judgment and
quick. He's a good talker.
yeah, yeah, he
I,
is a good talker.
good
Yeah,
talker. We always, I mean, me and him always have great conversations though, because there's been plenty of times too where he gets real and gets honest and gets back on it. But he's on it right now, man. He's killing it right now.
absolutely. He told me, he was like, you need to spend more time in the Word, which is the one thing that I literally was avoiding doing, not even like consciously, but that's just kind of what started happening. Was I started spending less time with God, less time reading and connecting, and just more time with myself.
It'd be fun. Next time he comes up and sees you, you should be like, take me to one of those meetings. Yeah, just to get just to hear, just to
Yeah,
listen.
I've never been to a meeting.
Yeah, you should ask him. Be like, let's go to one of those meetings just to hear people's stories and hear people share. I think there's something powerful about that. Even if you aren't, an alcoholic or an addict, if there's something that can ignite something in you,
Hmm.
for the better.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, in my case, I'm fully vested.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But there's been plenty of people where it's like they go to one and they're like, all right, I get it. They don't ever have to come back. I'm fully vested in being involved till the day I die.
Yeah. I
Well,
love
there's
it, man.
nothing, imagine being able to help people all the time. Always having an outlet to be able to help people and reach your hand out and like help people get pulled out of the scrap heap of life and see their entire life change. I had nothing. I had literally nothing when I was getting sober back in 2019. Nothing. Now, today, I've got a beautiful house here in Medford, New Jersey. I have a wife. I have 3 kids. I have a career job with a wonderful company. I mean, I'm doing this cool project here with you now. I mean, it blows my mind when I actually like say it out loud and think about it.
Yeah. Think about the last time, if you can, take a
Well,
journey with me. Think about when you were in like the pits of despair, right? You're at your worst freaking point with your drinking and drugging, whatever the hell you're doing, and the inability to think past whatever the hell you were doing in that moment. I asked my brother this when I interviewed him. It's like, what the heck is going on in somebody's mind, in your mind, when you're doing all this shit that you know is so destructive, not just to you, but to your family, to people that love you. You got a newborn baby, your fucking girlfriend is, whatever, like all of this shit, you're just destroying it all. And I think what he said to me was, I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, yeah, obviously. That's the obvious answer. I'm not thinking about that when I'm in the pits of despair. Right?
time you're thinking about that when you're in the midst of all that kind of stuff is when you're sober. So like when you're drinking and you're drugging and doing things like that, like you're not thinking about that anything like that when you're drinking or when you're inebriated. Like those stars don't have. It's once you when you wake up in the morning and you're sober for that few hours, whatever it is. That's when you're processing and thinking about that stuff. And like any true alcoholic or anything like that'll tell you, it's like most of their day before they have that drink is like, I don't want to drink. I probably should change my lifestyle I'm living. Like probably not. And then like well tomorrow we'll do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tomorrow will change that.
This is my fitness journey too, bro. This
Tomorrow
is
comes.
Yeah, yeah. It's always today. Um, so yeah, freaking it's the same thing with like eating, man. People have struggle. I struggle with it too, with nutrition, like eating right, not eating all the freaking cookies in the house, let
Oh
alone
yeah,
just one of
I
them.
got a terrible nicotine addiction. I don't smoke, but these little things, dude, terrible.
Yeah, you all zinned up, bro.
Terrible addiction. But like
Nicotine isn't that bad. It's not bad for you, is it? I mean, anything in moderation. Anything in moderation.
oh, there's no moderation.
Yeah, with that.
I drink AG1. I go to the gym. Leave me alone.
Yeah, yeah. I'm countering it. I have balanced approach here.
Yeah.
Lots of Zins and then a lot of AG1. Yeah.
I think it was Huberman. Huberman said it's good for you. Nicotine's good for you.
It is good for you. It's like a nootropic. I don't know. I heard Joe Rogan say it was good once.
Hey,
So I'm just,
JRE, that's my guy.
yeah,
We're,
this bro science is where I live.
yeah.
But what was I saying? I was saying, the hell was I saying? I forgot what I was making a point, and then I don't know. We got derailed there.
Sorry about that.
No,
That's
that's all right.
derailment.
This is how it happens. Yeah, I'll never get it back. I'll get it back as soon as we're done here. Oh, no, 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 I remember. Yeah, like with eating, fitness, right? It's like people like, okay, addiction, you can kind of put that in one bucket, but it's kind of like the same cycle that happens with somebody who struggles with losing weight or not eating junk food, or drinking soda and not drinking any water or whatever. It's like what you just explained is something that I go through like every night. Yeah. It's something that I go through like every night, where I'll go the whole day tracking my food, weighing it out, doing
Oh,
great. Macros are good, feeling great. And then at 11 p.m., and then it doesn't matter if I'm smoking or not smoking, I'll just fucking destroy it, throw it all away the whole day. The whole day of progress, knowing like, hey, when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna be a half pound lighter. I'm on the right track. I'm moving in the right direction. And then the 11th hour,
what is it?
just
What do you eat? What is it? What is it? Come on.
I'm addicted to cookies, bro. Chocolate.
Chocolate
I
chip?
I love chocolate.
Like Chips Ahoy?
Yeah, I love Chips Ahoy.
Or like the Costco cookies?
The absolute greatest cookies of
Uh-huh.
all time. Now you got me in my zone here. The small Entenmann's cookies.
The green bag?
No. They come in a white box, right? Entenmann's makes like the donuts and like the long white boxes, but they make little chocolate chip cookies, and they're like
Oh,
soft.
yeah, yeah, they're soft,
Yeah, they're small. They're
like a
small.
dollar 99 at Wawa or something for the box.
Yeah, so I mean they're kind of expensive, but then at there's a supermarket out by us called Wegmans, and they basically make those same cookies, just Wegman, supermarket, and they
Uh-huh.
come in a plastic thing. There's probably
Yep.
60
They're
or 70 of
they're
them in there.
talking about, yeah.
Ooh, I'll eat that whole thing right now,
Really?
front to back. I'll crack it open. My wife will bring it home. It will be gone that night. And then
Jeez.
she goes, "Hey, you didn't have to eat them all." I'm like, "No, no, no." So the way addiction works is I do have to eat them all. I have no control over it. I cannot control it. I Once I eat one, it's over. It's like smoking weed. Once you
One
smoke a
of
little bit,
one of
gobble gobble, one of us. So freaking my addiction is that chocolate, but in the same vein as addiction, right? Because I feel like it's the same thought process. It's a battle with who you want to be, who you know, who you are. If you don't like who you are anyway, it's a battle with who you are, a battle with who you are and who you are trying to be. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the past and what happened and how can you rectify your past. And the sooner you rectify your past, the sooner the present version of yourself can be freed. Because anytime you don't like yourself, it's because of something.
Well, I know I felt like that when I kind of put all the weight back on, but last year I went through a transformation. I was a little over 200 pounds. I think the most I ever got to was like 214 or 215. I'm 5'10. Unacceptable amount of weight. Yeah. Unacceptable to be 214 pounds
At 5'10",
at 5'10.
I'd like to be 210. I can't break 190, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm 6'2".
And you're 6'2.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Dude, you're center for the Chicago Bulls, man. I'm a Oompa Loompa, at 5'10. No, I'm a good height. I'm okay with being 5'10. It's like
Yeah, you're almost a real man. I know.
almost a real man. Exactly. I've got no strings to hold me down.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. This is how I grow. I grow through bullying. Bring bullying
Isn't,
back.
isn't that terrible, dude?
I'm an 80s baby. I grew up in the 80s
That,
and
but
90s, dude.
okay, so there's two types of bullying I've come to recognize. There's like your friends shit talking bullying,
Yeah.
and then there's bullying that just isn't fine. So I agree with the second with the
Yes.
so and then a lot of people can't distinguish between the two. Like obviously the kid who's like a pipsqueak, whatever the normal storyline in movies and things like that. Like obviously I would disagree with that. I was the kind of guy if I saw stuff like that, I'd be like, yo, knock it off. Like what? You're probably the same way if you saw something like that, you'd be like, no, like what? But
Well, I
like,
was the pipsqueak
oh,
getting
you got bullied.
bullied. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But to your point, like, my guy friends, and I have a very small friend circle as well. Just kind of like grew apart from a lot of them. But yeah, any guys that I consider friends, it's I mean, we just tear each other apart.
You're getting
And
fat, bud.
yeah, and
Look
I
at, look at,
love it.
look at those love handles, boy.
And my son, so I remember last year when I started going through I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and this is kind of what I was going to ask you before, is like I hated I hated who I was. I didn't feel good. I didn't look good. Going through issues with my wife at that time. It's like, yeah, no wonder why she doesn't look at me the way I want her to, because I don't even look at me the way I want to be looked at. Like I look at me and I'm just like, oh, put your shirt back on, dude. What's going on here? So I went through it. I reached out to a friend of mine, George, who is very, very good friend of mine for a long time. He's a fitness coach. And he was just like, he let me cry for a little bit. And then he was just like, yeah, let me help you, dude. So that's kind of like where it started. I was already making the steps to change that area of my life, but I needed somebody to hold me accountable and somebody who I really respected, because I didn't want to let myself down, but I really didn't want to let George down. So if I told George, hey, yeah, I'm going to track my food, and then I decide not to, you could lie to yourself all day and justify it, but then to lie to George I just didn't want to do that. Right. So it helped me kind of like
Yeah,
get to where I was. I went from like 210 to at the lowest, I was 174.
really.
And And I mean, if you go back on my
What,
Instagram, dude,
or like shredded type stuff?
shredded,
Yeah,
shredded.
shredded.
Bro, never in my life have I been that
Looked like I'm
shredded.
30 again.
Dude, I felt like I was, I've never been that shredded. So I can't even say I felt like I was again. But at 40 years old, I achieved peak physical performance, right? No, but I remember that I felt like shit, man. I didn't like who I was. Now, was that something else that was triggering my feeling of unworthiness and my unhappiness with who I was? Or was it just because I was actually a fat piece of shit and I needed to change my life?
Probably that.
Yeah, it's probably that, right?
I mean, but it's your journey, right? I guess. I like, it's funny. Some people can handle that type of um, awareness and communication. Some people need delusions or to make it through existence, and it's fine. I needed them too. I needed a lot of them for a long time. And then it got to the point where it was going to kill me. And then I needed to, can't live like it, can't live in them anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
There is a fair amount of body shaming and bullying from people who I know aren't trying to hurt me, but they actually love me and
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a different
But,
thing.
but when it's a really sensitive topic, even if it is from people that love you, it can still hurt.
Yeah, but I think, people who you have those relationships with, yeah, not to say it'll be perfect all the time, but like they know, right? Like people know, hey, I know Mike, he needs a little body shaming, but we're going to talk about the size of his pecker. He gets real upset about that, so we won't make fun of that, but we'll call him a fat slob and that will help him change his life. Right. So it's like, there are things that maybe and that is not a real example. That's just something that I
No.
pulled out there. Yeah, clearly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bring bullying back. Let's go.
Yeah. 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 But, no,
It
man,
never went away. It never went away.
what's that?
That stuff never went away.
What's that?
Like the boys bullying
Yeah.
each other
Yeah.
never went away.
I think men need that, man.
We did.
I think men need that. My son does it to me. It's a little disrespectful when he does it.
Get over here, boy.
Yeah, yeah. But I know I can beat him up, so it's like I allow it. There I allow a level of that, and he knows I could beat him up, so he'll toe the line. But yeah, I mean, when I was at my fucking worst shit, I mean, he was coming up to me, jiggling my stomach, go, "Dad, you got the chunky stuff," and he's just like being silly, trying to like be funny and whatever. But I was like, okay, well, this is kind of a problem because I don't want my son to look at me like I am. I want my son to look at me like I'm a superhero,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Whether I am or not doesn't matter. But I want him to look at me and go, not only is my dad like really cool and like has a good relationship with me, but like he does hard things and he does things when he doesn't want to do them. So like getting up at 4 a.m. and working out straight away and then journaling and praying and like I was doing this for so long
That's
and
tough to keep up day in and day out, by the way.
it's very hard.
I think
Yeah.
it's a lie.
It's what?
I think it's a lie that's propagated through Instagram and all that stuff. I don't think people do that every single day, 7 days. It was 5, 7 days a week, 100 every year.
No, 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 no. I maybe there's a handful of people who could actually do that and are being honest about it, but I know when I was doing it, I did it for a few months
Yeah,
consistently, and it's hard to do. Now,
yeah,
when I've reached peak physical performance, where where I was ripped, I felt great, I was light on the toes. Um, it was cool, but once I got there, it was like very hard to maintain that. You know, it's hard to maintain that 4 a.m. morning thing. Like, oh, now I've achieved the thing. But this is what I do. I achieve the thing I set out to achieve, and then I go, oh, all right, cool. I relax now.
yeah.
All right,
Rush.
yeah. And guess how much I weighed last week?
How much?
200 pounds.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
Nah, and I mean, I don't look as bad as I used to, but it's still like that thing where it's like I work all the way down to this point where I feel finally like I achieved something, and I'm in the shape that I want to be in. and then I take my foot off the gas, and then I wind up back at the starting line, and then I'm starting to race all over again.
Yeah, black or white. You don't just stay there and then just kind of keep yourself there.
Yeah,
You get
but
there and all right, go back down.
yeah. But I don't like that. I don't want it to be so extreme. I want to
Well,
find a balance.
probably because you push yourself in the beginning to the extreme, and then
Yeah.
you burn out. By the time you get to where you want to be, you're like, all right, let me rest back.
Yeah, the pendulum swung extremely in the other direction. And then if the wife comes home with those Wegmans freaking cookies, bro, it's game
Alex,
over.
hey, come on.
The thing is, bro, like I love my wife and I know she loves me, but she also knows that I can't handle it. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if she knows she's doing it, but I think she's kind of like, let's test this dude. I'm like, yeah, he can't not eat the cookies. He's still that guy. I don't like that.
Hey, if I send this to you right now, can you see it? If I show it, can I send it to you?
I have no idea. It'll probably shut this whole thing down.
Will it? All right, I won't.
I have no idea. But it's already been 2 hours, so I mean, it's probably a
Want to send?
good, good place to end this thing at. Oh,
Wait,
no, just your camera turned off.
wait, hold on. I'll send it to you right now.
What are you sending?
You'll see.
All right.
You'll see.
Better not be like a picture of your butt
Nah,
cheeks.
no. No way, Mike. I wonder if you can receive it through text. You don't have an iPhone, do you?
I don't. And also, the number that you have is not my actual cell phone number. It's
What?
business.
You don't want your actual one right now, do you?
No, I can.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to say it online. There's isn't there like a chat thing here? Yeah, there is a chat thing here. Matthew, no. Well, studio chat. Put it in the chat. Can you see the where the chat option is?
No, I'm just gonna
I'll
email.
throw that to you. Um,
Hold on. I got it.
yeah, my phone number is, my address is, and my social security number ends in. But no, man, I appreciate the conversation and you sharing your experience. I feel like I'm talking to nobody now because I can't see you. So
Hold
anyway,
on, hold on. Stop. Don't do that.
I feel alone. If anybody makes it this far in this episode anyway, they're probably half asleep.
No one's gonna listen to this. Are you kidding me?
Nobody.
Nobody's gonna listen.
Nah,
Dude, I really didn't. I listened to a bunch of the ones you had out there. I enjoyed them.
thank you. I appreciate that. What'd you
They're-
send me? Did you send me something?
I emailed it to you.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to check it out right now? Is this pertinent to the conversation?
Well, it's the book I made. I wanted to share with you at least.
The book. Oh yeah.
I want to make the reaction while you're on camera at least.
Okay. Yeah. Now I got to find where you emailed it.
I like replied to one of the emails from Seymour,
Oh God. This is
and I don't even know if that's like the right one I sent you. It's just the smallest file I could find.
oh, is it called Chaos Booklets? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I see it. Yeah, the PDF is pulling up now. A lot of preface, man.
Yeah, you don't have to read all that.
Let's get some. No, I want to look for some photos. Oh yeah, look at that. So this first photo you have in here, drawing, painting.
Yeah, painting.
Yeah, this is chaotic, dude.
Is it? Which one is it? Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah. So this is like the chaos you were in.
Mm-hmm. You start kind of go through them. It kind of gets progressively more orderly, more kind of.
As you start getting your life together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of does.
Oh, this is pretty dope. I like this, man. Yeah, I'm gonna check this out tonight. I'll read through it and I'll check out the pictures, man. Where can people find you? Like, where's the best place somebody can get in touch with you?
Our
I'll
like artandhealingfoundation.org. We're still working on other things, but that's the website. That has all of our information. And if people have stories, we have a thing they can send in requests, like kind of like what we did with you.
Hmm.
tell us about themselves, and maybe we'll put them in the documentary.
In the documentary. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's I I'm gonna pray tonight for you guys, finding success on this path. And you know, it sounds like not only are you helping other people along with this journey, but it is helping you guys
oh yeah,
heal your own lives and, kind of figure out what your purpose is, man. I think you found it. And wherever God has intended you to be, that's where you're going to end up, whether you like it or not. So
but
it's like,
kicking or screaming or walking it down. Who knows?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it, man. Thank you so much for spending the last 2 hours talking with me. Hopefully, this whole episode recorded. Otherwise, it was
Def-
for nothing. It was
Definitely,
just for us.
definitely miss bedtime.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're in bed. Yeah, yeah. Michael's not. He's upstairs. Just like, oh, you need another 30 minutes, Dad? Like,
Yeah,
he's more than happy.
watching TV or whatever. No, I just got a picture from my wife. They're all
Uh,
passed out.
oh, nice, man. Well, God bless you, man. Go give your kids a kiss goodnight. And thank you for spending the time with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get to meet you in person again. Actually,
Yeah, I'll come down that way. I got to come up that way anyway. Brian keeps leaving stuff at my house every time he comes here. So
yeah, let me know. I'd love to come. Say what's up in person to you at least.
awesome, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.